What's up, everybody? So the innocentproject.org just posted an article on the West Memphis 3 and everything you should know about their wrongful conviction. It is linked in the description below, so you can go have a read for yourself. And we're going to go over the article today. Damien Echols, Jason Baldwin, and Jesse Misskelley, known as the West Memphis 3, have been trying to clear their names for 30 years. In 1993, Misskelley, Baldwin, and Echols, 16, 17, and 18 at the time, were arrested for the murders of 3 8-year-old boys in West Memphis, Arkansas. Although no physical evidence or motive tied them to the crime, the teens were all convicted. Both Misskelley and Baldwin were given life sentences, while Damien Echols, who the prosecution argued led the attack, was sentenced to death. In 2007, DNA testing excluded the three from all of the crime scene evidence, tested and detected DNA of a man who could not be identified at the time. Today, advances in DNA technology mean that DNA that could not previously be recovered from evidence, including shoelaces used to bind the children, can now be tested and could lead to the identification of a person who actually committed this crime. However, last year, a judge denied Damien Echols' request for new DNA testing of evidence because he is no longer in prison. While some other state laws only allow incarcerated people to access post-conviction DNA testing, Arkansas statute does not limit access to testing to those who are currently incarcerated. Damien Echols has now taken his appeal to the Arkansas Supreme Court. Preventing people from seeking DNA testing after their release from prison impedes justice and would have prevented the exoneration of several wrongly convicted people whose names were all cleared by DNA testing after they were released. Justice for the victims in this case and the West Memphis 3 should not be denied simply because they are no longer incarcerated. They should not be penalized and robbed of the opportunity to clear their names because they are free. That is why on June 2nd of 2023, the Innocent Project filed a brief, a friend of court brief, offering our expertise based on experience with DNA testing and innocent claims to the Arkansas Supreme Court, supporting Damien Echols' appeal for new DNA testing of the evidence in the case. Here's what you should know about the West Memphis 3 and their fight for justice. Damien Echols, Jason Baldwin, and Jesse Misskelley consistently maintained their innocence, but the prosecution argued that the teens had killed the boys as part of a satanic ritual. Thousands of allegations against innocent people, including the San Antonio Four, arose during the 1980s and 1990s as a result of a mass media scare known as Satanic Panic. Several people wrongfully accused of child abuse during the Satanic Panic era have since been exonerated. Misskelley, who has an intellectual disability, gave a confession after hours of coercive and intimidating interrogations, which were not taped. During those interrogations, Misskelley, still a child, was not accompanied by his parents or an attorney. Both young people and people with intellectual disabilities are especially vulnerable to falsely confessing, just like Brendan Dassey, when subjected to police deception and intimidation. Misskelley's confession was filed with details that did not match the crime scene evidence, yet the prosecution used it to charge Baldwin, Misskelley, and Echols with the crime. Misskelley later recanted and refused to testify against Baldwin and Echols at trial, and his confession was barred from their trials. DNA has not connected them to the crime. This is huge. Based on the results of the 2007 DNA testing, the men were offered a plea in exchange for the release. Damien Echols was on death row facing execution for the third time, so they accepted. In 2011, they were released after signing Alford pleas, a type of plea that allows a person to maintain their innocence but acknowledge that prosecutors have evidence that could result in a conviction at trial. New DNA testing could uncover the truth. Advances in DNA testing mean that the tests are more sensitive. New techniques can successfully recover DNA from items including materials like fabric that could not previously be tested. In the case of the West Memphis 3, that means the shoelace used to tie up the children who were killed could be tested. The testing could lead to the identification of the person or people who actually committed the crime. Take action. How you can help. Add your name to the petition. Now, to demand justice for the West Memphis 3, text Memphis to 97016 to receive breaking news about the case. Share their story on Twitter and Instagram. Watch the documentary Paradise Lost. Read Devil's Knot, the true story of the West Memphis 3. Let's talk about the Alford plea. The Alford plea allows the West Memphis 3 to maintain their innocence, but allows the state and the lawyers to keep their conviction record intact, and that is the most important thing to these guys, and it doesn't allow the West Memphis 3 to sue civilly. One of the West Memphis 3 didn't even want to accept the Alford plea, but took it because Damien Echols was going to be executed, and he wanted to save his life. So they took the Alford plea and are still fighting from the outside to prove their innocence. Now let's talk about DNA. The state will not test the DNA. They will not agree to the new DNA technology to be used in this case. Why? Because it will prove that they were wrong. It will prove that the West Memphis 3 are innocent. It will open the state up to be sued civilly, and they will lose their conviction. They will be sued civilly, they will lose their conviction, and it will show that they didn't have the right people in prison from the very beginning. That is why the state will not do the DNA testing. Now, talking about the coerced confession, Jesse Misskelley and Brendan Dassey in this situation are one and the same. If you don't know who Brendan Dassey is, he is the nephew of Stephen Avery that is involved in the Making a Murderer case. It is very easy for someone of power, for someone of authority, to intimidate and scare and get somebody to say that has a low IQ, that has a mental and intellectual disability, to get them to say and do whatever they want, because they believe the police are there to help them, when the police and lawyers are just there to get them to say whatever they want to get the conviction they want. It has nothing to do with doing the right thing or catching the correct killers. They saw the West Memphis 3, they wanted the West Memphis 3, so they got the West Memphis 3. If law enforcement wants you, they are going to get you. That is my opinion, of course, and that is why the West Memphis 3 were convicted and served all those years in prison for something they didn't do. Let me know what you think. Leave some comments below. I hope you're having a good day, and I will see you again soon.